Hi, welcome to the 14th Masterclass with the MET Orchestra Musicians at Lessonface, featuring Milan Milisavievich, Desiree Elsevier, and Craig Mum. I'm Katie Falk-Flores here with Lessonface, where we connect students with great teachers for live lessons and classes. In this masterclass today, we will have 3 student performance and coaching sessions, followed by a brief Q&A at the end, so please enter questions in the chat box if you have them, and we will address them after the performances. With that being said, let's begin. And now Craig Mum of the MET Orchestra will coach Lucas Freitas, a postgraduate student in London, who will be playing the first movement of the Hofmeister Viola Concerto.
Muito bom.
Obrigado.
Boa noite, tudo bem?
Tudo. E com você?
Ótimo, ótimo. We've worked together before.
Yes. In
Yes.
the
Exactly. Excellent. Beautiful job. I liked it very much. Let me ask you a question. If you had this piece on a scale with one side being fun party music and another end of the scale being serious concert music, where would this piece fall?
Well, I think more to the funny side.
Exactly. Yeah, you made it a little serious. I think you're missing some opportunities to be expressive and to be playful, to be fun. First of all, I would take more time. Don't go from one section to the next without breathing a little bit. It's just a little anxious. I think I would enjoy it. I would sink into it a little bit more and enjoy it. A couple things. He uses a device a lot in this piece, the appoggiatura, which I think I would make a lot more use of. He could have written. It happens all throughout this piece. I would make more of those. I would lengthen them a little bit and accentuate them with vibrato. So that's in, a couple bars in. Okay, that's one device you can use to make it expressive. Let's take it from the beginning one more time. Also, you have a beautiful vibrato. It's excellent, but you're not using it consistently. The moving eighth notes need vibrato too. Keep the vibrato going. Okay, take it from the beginning one more time. Right there. Breathe a little bit. Ba-da-dee-da-bum. Ba-dim-bum-dee-da-dum. We're changing harmonies there. Don't rush into it so fast. Take it from the third bar. That's a spectacular, fun little passage. I think you can take a little more fantasy with it. I'm exaggerating, but I don't think it needs to be so square. You can play around with it a little bit. Take it from that bar. Ba da dee bum. Good. Now the next passage, it's very bawdy. It's very fun. It's kind of like you're in the tavern with your buddies.
Yes.
And exaggerate. Enjoy that big distance. So I don't think you have to rush into it. Yum. Digga 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 dum. Okay. One technical thing. When you're playing 16th notes, when they're fast, you sometimes have to exaggerate the intonation. What do I mean? So I'm purposely making the G sharp on the high side. Otherwise, it's going to sound a little flat. We're going to have intonation like you would have playing the piano. We can be more expressive, our intonation. So that note, G sharp, which isn't in the key signature, I would emphasize. Make it a little spicier.
Okay. Where should I go from?
That passage. Now those eighth notes have to be vibrated, and then we've got another appoggiatura. We've got an E sharp, very spicy note. Take all these opportunities to be expressive.
Okay.
Bum bum bum. Beep. Okay, that was great. So you were in the beer hall with your buddies and you're having a good time. Now, here comes your girlfriend, the beautiful Esmeralda. She's showing up, and it's a completely different character. Now, so change the character a little bit. So going on. You're in love. You're in love with the beautiful Esmeralda. Vibrate, vibrate. Take your time. It's dolce, dolce. There's no rush. Nobody's holding a stopwatch to you. One last time. Take your time between those sections. Great. Now you've met your girlfriend. Now you're going to the dance. Okay, it's party time now. think I would vibrate those a little bit. Vibrate those double stops. They'll sound better in tune also with vibrato. Good. Go on. It's good. It's really good. Emphasize that chromatic scale. So on your up bows, a little more emphasis. And here, enjoy this dissonance.
Okay.
Excellent, excellent. But enjoy this distance. We're going from the top of the instrument to the bottom of the instrument. It's like it's a circus act, the trapeze. So don't rush into it. Yeah, exactly. Right, it's fun. Let's emphasize the joy in this piece. Okay, let's go on a little bit. I liked your cadenza, by the way. Very creative.
Thank you. Thanks. It's not mine. It's not written by me, but
Well, you played it as if you had just written it. It was very, very convincing.
good.
Now, another color now. So it needs to be a little darker now, a little bit menacing, for a little bit.
From where from?
So
Should we-
take it from there. So the character's going to change. Good. I think you're missing an opportunity to be expressive. It can be more intense. And if you don't vibrate the eighth notes, it loses all the tension. Vibrate those eighth notes. This is very dramatic now. Now, the next passage, it's two voices. Bum, 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 ba-da-da-da-da-dum, bum, 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 bum. So emphasize the two different voices.
Okay.
be careful your half steps. Make them really tight.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to sound out of tune. Yeah. Really squeeze them tight.
Okay. I keep forgetting this.
Lucas, it's very good. But when you play fast notes, when you play 16 notes, you have to exaggerate the intonation a little bit. Otherwise, it's going to sound the intonation will sound a little sour. Exaggerate that a little bit. The large whole steps, small half steps. Excellent. Okay, go on. Now floating, just floating now. Good. What in classical music, when you have couplets, usually the first note is the important one. You can give that a little more bow. I wouldn't make them equal. So we had that a few times. So a little more bow on the first note and release. Ba, ba, dum, bum. Yeah. One last thing before we go on. When you do that figure with the long A, it's a dotted quarter note. If you hold it that long, you'll have to vibrate. Otherwise, the tension will go out of it. Keep the vibrato going on that. Now, this is real circus music that comes up next. It's nothing serious at all. Very bouncy. Bum, bum, bum. Very happy, very bouncy. Okay, I think there are two different characters in that little passage. So the first bar is very active. And then it floats. think I would emphasize that. Two different characters in that. One last thing. Give it a little buzz. Ba-dum. A little bee sting of vibrato on the pickup note. Bum bum. I think I would make those shorter. It'd be more in character. Ba-da-da-dum-bum-bum. Don't make those eighth notes. Don't make them too gluey. Make them a little more sparkly. Da-bum-bum.
Okay.
Good. Almost there. I would keep those very active and a little shorter. It's too long. It's too long. Bum digga dum digga dum bum digga dum. Very perky, very happy.
Sorry.
Oh, it could be on the string, but short. Okay, excellent. Great job. So in short, a few things. Exaggerate the characters. We've got a couple main characters, the perky party stuff and the floating dolce characters. So exaggerate those a little bit. In the fast moving notes, exaggerate the intonation a little bit. Keep the half steps small and the whole steps large. Otherwise, it'll sound a little sour, the intonation. And don't forget to vibrate when you've got moving eighth notes. We have to vibrate those. Basically anything that you can vibrate.
Okay.
Keep it very, very fun, very, very singing. Great job.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks.
You're welcome.
It's beautiful playing, and you can make it livelier. Just it's beautiful playing, so it's good.
Beautiful. I was missing a little vulnerability sometimes. I think Craig was getting to that with your girlfriend and stuff like this. I think it's nice to flirt and show that you're not just a macho man. You also you're really speaking from the heart of that moment, and you don't have to pretend that you're stronger than necessary. So yeah, a beautiful playing. Yeah.
I think the only comment I would make that Craig didn't make is I could use more contrast in dynamics.
Okay.
Large and small could be more in opposition to each other, the way he was talking about character.
Yes.
But
Okay.
bravo.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Great job.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lucas. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Craig, for coaching Lucas on that, and Desiree and Milan for jumping in at the end. So for our next performer now, we will be having Desiree Elsevier of the Met Orchestra will coach Joe Skerrick from Michigan, who will play the fourth movement of the Viola Sonata, Opus 11, number 5 by Paul Hindemith.
Joseph, that was great. I made notes. We're going to talk about a bunch of things, but do me a favor. First of all, it's a passacaglia. The theme is how many bars long?
Just one bar long, right? Just one bar, right?
No, the theme, this is a theme and variation. So how long is the theme that all these variations are done on?
To be honest,
It's 8 bars. It's 8 bars. So the whole piece is a series of variations in 8 bars on the first 8 bars. So a passacaglia is like a chaconne. The chaconne is more a repeated harmony, and a passacaglia is more a repeated, like an ostinato bass note. And the passacaglia can have that repeated thing in any voice. And basically, the passacaglia, if you look at that, it's right, the first two bass notes, and then the second two in the middle of the second bar. That's sort of what will be repeated over and over. And the theme is, it's a 4-bar statement with a 4-bar answer. So bum bum da 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 dum bum ba da 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 dum bum bum bum, and then there's an answer. There's 4 bars that are an answer. So it's an 8-bar thing that's divided into 2 sentences. So in terms of playing the whole piece, I don't know if I'm yelling, but in terms of playing the whole piece, you have to find a way to make these 5 pages hold together and hold people's attention. And Hindemith does some of this. He gives you dynamics. So he's telling you which of these, and so later today, you should go through this and mark 8-bar phrases. It's 200 bars, the whole piece is 200 bars, and Hindemith was a stickler for theory and structure. He loved numbers. He loved making things work out mathematically, but he also had a beautiful ear, and so he made it a piece. But so as we're thinking about this, first thing I want to talk about is note lengths. The thing is at the beginning, it says das Thema sehr gelten, very held. So for one moment, I'd like you to play the 3rd bar, and I'd like you to, number 1, vibrate, just the 3rd bar, and I want you to pay attention to how long is that quarter note, that first quarter note. So just play it for 1 second. Just play the 3rd bar. Okay. So do you hear how long that first quarter note is?
Yeah.
So can you play the first 2 notes as long as that quarter note? It doesn't matter if it's out of tempo. Sorry, it doesn't matter if it's out of tempo. Okay, play the 3rd bar again. Listen to the quarter note. Okay. Do you hear how long that quarter note is? Bum! It goes till there. Play those first quarter notes that long. I would say even longer. Really, really long. Okay, you might want to try doing it up-down. Just try it up-down so that you can really play it long without having to stop. Good, I like that. I don't know if you like it, and you don't have to take it, but think about it in terms of, and you know that he was thinking about the Bach D minor chaconne, which I don't have the open E string, but you know it, right? And it's those 2 notes at the beginning of that chaconne are very long, like really long. So try this, let's keep going now. So play here, and what I wanted to point out, which is what Craig did, is vibrate as much as you can always, because the notes you don't vibrate stick out. And there are variations later where you don't vibrate, but then all of them are not vibrated. But when you got to that 3rd bar when you were playing, it wasn't vibrated. It was very static, and it stuck out because your vibrato was so nice. So start at the beginning, make it really expansive. This theme that is going to be varied for 25 times, make it very expansive here. Okay, so that's good. you'll see when you watch this later that you stop vibrating in the notes in the like in bar 6 and 7. Okay, so it's just a habit. As much as you can, and break the chords, leave the bottom notes out. Just vibrate as much as you can. Okay, so then measure 9 is the first variation. Okay, so let's play this, and it's only mezzo forte. The opening of the piece was forte, so this is a little bit held back, and he uses triplets here more. There's more that idea of da 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 dee da da dum, which you do beautifully. So long notes, and this is just a little calmer. This is just a little held. Okay. Start at measure 9.
With the ball.
Hang on. So you're almost playing 2/16 notes and an 8th note. Da 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 dum. It's da 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 dee da dum. Da 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 dee da dum. Right? So really a triplet can always stretch out into a note longer than you think, into a beat. So the triplet really can be a little more gooey. And those first 2 chords I think should be a little more stately, a little longer still. Yes, with a separation, but a little longer. So try and measure 9 again and vibrate them. I'm sorry, I don't hear you.
How about if I get close? How can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. For the chords in measure 9, should I do a double down or do you bring me down?
I like it with them as they come. Because I feel otherwise what we get then is too much vertical movement and not enough line. It's like a sentence. It's like, and I feel like he has this with an accent, but it's still, we get stuck if there's too much of this all the time. And I don't think it's necessary, because I think that the chords, work out fine. And there are some bowings you can do so that you end up down most of the time, because it's nice to go up down and then be at the tip for the soft 16th notes. So if you start in measure 9 up, it'll work out okay. I mean, you'll have to do what's comfortable for you now. Can you sing it for me? Da 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 dee da dee da da.
With those rhythms. I'm sorry, you cut
From
off.
measure 9.
Okay. Da,
From measure 9.
da, 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 ya, da, ya, da, ya, da.
Okay, this is something you should work with a metronome, because I think you're over exaggerating, and we all do this, but just make sure that it's clear that it's a triplet, but it doesn't end up sounding like an etude, but it's definitely clear that it's not da 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 dee da dum. All right, so start again now, right there, and remember to vibrate. Second, measure 15. You have a natural da da dee da da dum.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that was variation 1. And what you do need to work on is making it less this way, da, da, like this. It's da, ba, ba, da, da, dee, da, da, dee, da, right? And it's 4 bars answered by another 4 bars. And then we get to variation 2, which is bar 17. And suddenly we have a different, instead of da da dee da da dum, it's da 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 dum, bam, right? So, and it's fortissimo. So start at measure 17, and if you can, take a moment before the it's take a moment before the third beat, the fortissimo. Really come down on it, okay? And have some bravura with there. Okay, but those things you can work out. Again, even if you're going to retake your bow, try and hold the quarter note full value. Otherwise, it just sounds chopped off, right? So that nice triad at the end of bar 18, boom, and then definitely that you're coming in fortissimo, but don't shortchange the last quarter note. Can you start again at 17? So this is the beginning of the third variation, and it says here gehalten. So you naturally went forward. I think this is more like stream of consciousness. It's like he's wandering. So it's like I think it gets sort of, he's lost for a moment, right? And he has all those nice little short notes, and then he has in the second, so it's 4 bars and 4 bars, right? So in measure 29, he's got fortissimo, and he's like, oh, I know where I am. So try that for a moment from bar 25. You can start in beat 2. Okay, so this variation says fließend, which means flowing. It keeps flowing. It flows, and it keeps flowing until the pianissimo at the top of the next page, right? It keeps flowing. This goes forward, and it's basically very piano with some accents in it. There's like no nuance, and it's piano, and it goes. So try it. 33, very flowing, sort of meandering forward. Can you play any quieter? It may be that Zoom is adjusting, but see if you can play it a little more like it's in the other room, like it's someone who's thinking to himself in the other room. So you're going to want to try and voice this like a pianist would, where some of the notes are softer and some of them are louder, right? So since there's so much repetition in every first beat of each bar, maybe we can make those a little bit softer, but try not to hit the last quarter note. So just try it a little more, and I wouldn't stop so much. I'd play da 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 dee 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 instead of da 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 da. I'm exaggerating, but see if you can have it go forward a little bit more, so that when you get in the fourth bar of it, you get the notes that move. It's natural. Okay, so that's the next variation. So the only thing I'd say about this one is I think it's more effective if the tempo is steady for these 8 bars. Da-dee, 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 da-dee. So you got much faster in bar 45. I think that it in terms of like it's like a sentence. And I think in terms of how it speaks, if you keep those notes even, da-dee, 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 right, without going way faster, I think it makes a better mood. Can you try it from 41 again? So I just got my 2-minute warning. So I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest. So measure 53, where you just were, you're playing da 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 da, right? It's whatever, right? When you have separate notes suddenly, articulate them more, right? Because they sound still slurred. That's one thing that I noticed. Also, in what's coming up, the Lebhaft in bar 55 and on, you need to make some of the notes tenuto. Da da dee da 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 dee da da, because otherwise it sounds like Kreutzer. Da da dee da 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 da. So try and make it sound, find the music in it. And the way I do that is I play just the note that I think is important. So is it the first note? Right? Is it that? Or is it the top note? Right? It's not the open A for sure. Also, the word einleitend, which you will see in bar 64, and you see it again at the end. It means introduction. It means introducing, it means leading in. So I would suggest that you slow down in that bar to get into the next bar. Da da dee da 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 dee da dee da 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 da, and then go forward again. And again, the single notes get more. All right, I wrote down in bar 67. I wrote down pacing. You are pacing. So do me a favor, play at 62. I think we hopefully. So the idea is make more contrast. Make more contrast in terms of the single notes and the fast notes. And in what I feel your pacing is. You go da 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 da. Maybe not every time, because then it's not different. Okay, so in turn the page measure 97, and this is something you have to figure out. Measure 97, measure 99, measure 101, 103, all the same notes. The same thing 4 times, and then it happens again. Those same 2 chords. You have to find a way to, does 1 get louder and get softer? Do 2 get louder, 3 get softer? Do you start soft? Does it get louder? Find a way to make that phrasing interesting. And 143, I felt like beats 2 and 3, you play them out of tempo. Those 16th notes were almost as fast as those sextuplets. So it's da da da, or is it 7 there? It's 7. So da 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 da. You got faster there. Okay. You sound great. I'm like picking at the 99% of it, like the top of it. Okay. Also, 155, get really quiet. Like at the top of that last page, really quiet, because you've got a lot of stuff coming in the last page. So the other thing is, look at the tempo markings. 165, you have to go, it says allmählich lebhafter, gradually faster. So you keep getting faster. At 174, it says accelerando. It does not say to slow down at 177. Keep going, keep going. You got slower there. It still says crescendo and accelerate, right? And it says slowly begin sehr beschleunigen, which is still accelerate. And then in bar 184, you have the same notes 3 times. The last one says einleiten. My feeling is it's we get back to the theme. So that last one, I would hold it back. I think you were great. Does anybody, Craig, Milan, you have any comments?
I do.
Yes.
Oh, let's hold on a second. Okay. Oh, there I am. Yeah. Beautiful. Listen, with Hindemith, there's not much guesswork. He tells us exactly how it should be played. He was a violist. He was very meticulous. He was very specific. For example, some of the quarter notes have dashes on them. Some have accents. Some have dashes and accents. You have to make a difference. You have to show the difference between those things. He was very specific about how things should be played. If we just follow all his indications, he's very specific with the dynamics. He writes gehalten, lebhaft, fließend. If we just follow those as a guideline, we shouldn't get too far off. I love Desiree's idea about starting it up, down. Those first 2 notes have dashes on them. So I think down, down defeats the purpose. The up, down makes a lot of sense. It should be more legato. For us in the opera, I think an analogous composer actually is Puccini. And why do I say Puccini? He wrote indications in every bar. Every bar's got some kind of rubato marking or dynamics or accents. He was very specific about how he wanted things to be played, and Hindemith's the same way. So in short, if you follow his indications a little more carefully, you'll be on the right track.
Yeah, I second what my colleagues are saying. I like the idea about the beginning also, because I think it's like a quick inhalation and exhalation, maybe one that's with a little trepidation in it. And then like, a little kind of like searching, thinking about where you are. And it does feel good with the bow to, for that reason, start up and down. And yeah, I mean, really great job. Did you study with your mom?
Yeah, for when I was a kid on violin.
Okay, no, I've met Renee and she's wonderful, and I mean, Yeah, no surprise there. I mean, your playing is just wonderfully solid, and that's one of the things
Beautiful playing.
about it. Really,
Excellent.
Bravo.
super solid playing, which nice thing to see.
Yeah.
So, well done.
Thank you so much, Joe. That was fantastic. And thank you, Desiree, for coaching him through that, and Craig and Milan for weighing in at the end. Okay, for our third performer of the day, I have Milan Milisavievich of the MET Orchestra, who will coach Cameron Ane Williams, a student at the Juilliard School who will play the Allemande and Sarabande from Suite No. 4 by J.S. Bach, and an excerpt from Roman Carnival Overture by Berlioz.
Great job. Well done. Do you like to play excerpts?
Yes.
No, you don't.
Well,
Nobody likes to play excerpts. Okay, fine. Maybe you're just going against my narrative, which is fine. So, what do you like about excerpts?
Well, I think I just really enjoy playing in orchestra, and so when I get to play, the excerpts by myself, it's like, I don't know, hearing the orchestra in my head, and with this past year and everything going on, it's been sort of like a safe haven for me in a practice room to just play excerpts.
Well, I really like that. I mean, that's actually, I find it a very touching explanation. I like what you said about hearing the whole orchestra in your head, because I think that for me, that's the number one thing that one has to do when preparing excerpts for an audition or anything. You want to listen to the music a lot. So that's like my secret weapon. When I have an audition, I listen to the music I'm playing. Sometimes I'll even get an audio editing program. I'll download the MP3. I'll only edit the 16 or 24 bars I'm playing. And I'll just listen to it so that like my whole being is saturated with the music. Really helpful thing if you want to play excerpts well, right? Because you want to go beyond playing well and in rhythm and in tune and blah, blah, blah. You want people when they listen to you that they totally hear the whole thing. And that's going to be possible if you, among other things, have listened to it a lot. Good. I like a lot of the things that you did. Let me get the music out here. What is the character of this? If you had to pick one word to be fairly specific, what would that word be?
Blooming.
Okay. Maybe something that's a little more like an emotion.
I guess excited, for lack of a better word. That's not the exact word I'm thinking of, but excited is close.
Excited. It's like, I don't know why I'm thinking of the word processional. It's not processional. It's just, there's something stately about it. It just kind of unravels in a very, and it's beautiful, right? like E major key, you know, like very, very beautiful, bright, warm. Always good to write that in, I find. Above every excerpt, that's like another one of my secret weapons. Before, on top of every excerpt, and every time the mood changes in the piece, you write one word to help you get into groove before you start. Okay, so vibrate every note, real warmth in the sound, as beautiful as you can make it. Let's try again. Good, good. Okay, let's try a couple of things. So I would not have the semitones be too close to each other. In general, I'm sort of not, that's not the way I tend to hear intonation. Let's put it that way. So. Not too close. I like that you said excited. Maybe not so excited right away. I would kind of curb my enthusiasm at first, because near number 2, one bar before number 2, you are actually opening up more, and it is louder. Okay, one more time. Good. Okay, so. Yeah, your nice touch to really be able to let that F sharp die out on its own, rather than feel like, you know, it's like I'm cutting off the note because there's a rest coming up. No, the note peters out on its own. You actually have a, you know, a decrescendo as well on it. And then, how about this shift? Or, you know, I hate to sound too orchestral, but when you have a lot of people playing, there are other concerns other than sounding cool. And maybe this is one of those moments. I've actually never played this in performance, but arguably, if you shift to that C sharp, the whole section could do it, and it could sound nice. That's fine. And then if you broaden on that last beat, which is what you did right before the E up there on A string, that's good. Just make sure that it's even. I mean, ideally, that's the way you'd want there to be some sort of blooming to it, like you said. Yeah. So kind of an even bloom to it. Or yeah, you could start in third position if you just wanted to be safe. Up to you. But one more time, yeah, vibrate every note and really beautiful, but a little calmer at the beginning. Good, good. Okay, very nice. So it's at 2, it's nice and broad and beautiful, and it does get louder. Um, Imagine that it's. He added that 16th note in there. It's like a little flutter in the heart. It's a very organic thing. That D sharp 16th note there. I don't know how else to explain except to say that it's not that important. It's a feeling you have inside you. So we don't have to be so notey about it. Yeah, just something to think about. And then that's actually kind of the same thing. So instead of, which might be a little boring, this is like. Something I like to do whenever a phrase starts to play tricks on me is I like to sing it, Always helps you be really more musical about it, rather than thinking too much about how to play the viola. Good. Let's go from 2, and I would love to hear some of your Bach also. So play from 2 again, please.
From 2 to the end and then the Bach.
Let's do a bit more of this, and then we'll go.
Okay.
Good. Okay, couple of small things. When you have this crescendo molto, it's not just that it gets much louder all of a sudden, but music sometimes broadens in moments like that as well. And I think this is really one of those moments. So it's like you were a singer and you went from, tom, ta-dum, ta-da-da-da, you just like really opened up, It's not just like playing a keyboard and you can just hit an octave higher and it's no big deal. So it would be nice to get a bit of that. And then down to piano, 1 before 3. So, and then in what you were just doing, kind of a similar thing to what we did just earlier in the first and second line. To really, those 2 30 seconds, they just kind of tumble down, a little sparkle between C sharp and A. It's not the word of God. It's just a little flourish, okay? And you can sing it to yourself to get it to sound a little more gestural, a little more natural. And the last thing I was gonna say, the last 2 lines, it's like a nice time to practice string crossing, which is, I guess, one of my little obsessions as a violist. And that's because I think there's more to it than just technique. If your arm really moves very smoothly between strings, that means that your brain knows where you're going. There's something metaphysical in this as well. I mean, I think there's some neuroscience involved. Means knowledge of the roadmap you have in front of you, rather than just kind of going from one note to the next without an awareness of what's coming up. So and because you only are moving sometimes for just one string, it's just, it doesn't even require actually a lot of effort. It's like kind of like waving bye-bye. Yeah. So, and that whole section is kind of like petering down from the intensity of what you had earlier. Again, it's just a texture. It's just a color for the rest of the orchestra. Okay. Good. So let's hear some real music. No more excerpts. I want to hear some Bach. Hey, bravo, that's great. Tell me something about the Allemande. What kind of dance is it?
Well, it's a greeting dance. It's usually in like 2 or 4. So big beats 1 and 3, of course. It's a German dance.
It's originally a folk dance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, there's so many fascinating angles to consider in how this became like serious music. I guess maybe I could ask the same question that Craig asked when Lucas played, which is on the scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most serious music you can find and 1 being like just kind of folksy fun music, where would you put this piece?
Either in the middle or something closer to like something serious.
Yes, I mean, there are some moments that are definitely more like your high Baroque, but then there are moments that are just elegant, ceremonial, beautiful, not particularly complicated. Yeah. One thing I was missing was more of a sense of lift. Like you said, this is in Allemande's in 2 or is in 4. This one is in 2. So if you consider that, it'd be nice to feel that, every string instrument is just so hard to play, right? It's like violin or viola or anything is like, you sit like this. And yeah, it's easy to feel like your sound is then stuck with you. if you, especially in a piece like this, that is, you make a sound for a large space. You have to remember that as well, right? Like now, right now you're in a small practice room, so that's not super helpful. But not only should it bounce like in two, but you want to feel like you're sending the sound outward rather than just for where you are. So da 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 dum dum dee dum dum da 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 dum dum dum. Send your sound into space and feel like you're bouncing. Good. Okay, so as you know full well, there's like no dynamics in here, right? But obviously, we know that the musicians back then had their own ideas about the intensity of sound and how it developed and so on. So we want to add those in. For my taste, when you're in measure 7 to 9, so after this very, very dance-like part, right? And then this is more like your typical high Baroque, right? So these sequences. It would be good to have a feeling of development there, like you're going from a certain place and growing into another one, right? And then it continues onward, this feeling of growth. Try again from that spot, from the drum. Da, 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 da. Good. Another thing I noticed just from when you're playing the whole movement, don't be afraid of open strings. That's just my feeling as a violist, and I was a violinist for a really long time. One thing I really hated on the violin was the open E string. Never have to hear it again, at least not under my ear, and that's a nice thing. On the viola, the A, open A might be a little nasal, but the other strings are just great, okay? And when you play Bach, I do firmly believe in this idea that you want to use the colors from different strings to help your story, right? So. And then. I think an open A would be nice. It brings out something, it brings out another color after all, and I also wanted to mention just the intonation for my taste. It's all very chordal. Be careful that your semitones are not too close. I think it takes away from the expressivity of what you're doing. And now maybe in the second half, you're kind of veering off into something a little more mysterious. Again, not just dance like down to earth, clumsy German dance, which is a bit what the Allemande is. But here it gets a little more mystical, right? And so on. Try that. Good, good. And then, for instance, when you go on, get a totally different dynamic and a real different color. I'd really want to hear that. A little more, I don't want to say bombastic, but dum bum da 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 dum bum ba da 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 bum bum bum, and then again. You want to create these contrasts really to keep the listener's attention, you know? Okay, so let's also use this opportunity to also create, or I should say, to create less tension before we go into so you know, if you're gonna run very fast and very far, you need to warm up to it. So at bar 31, you kind of want to go to a lower dynamic and give yourself a little more space. Good, good, good. Okay. Another general thing I just wanted to mention before we get to the end. For my taste, the eighth notes, the eighth notes are part of what makes the Allemande in this movement. So I would prefer something like. And in a way, it's like a leitmotif. It's the way you play them kind of ties the piece together. So you kind of want to be consistent about it because it helps your story. It helps what you're trying to say. Okay, let's go again from that. Da 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 and da 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 bum 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 bum, and keep those short and bouncy. Beautiful. Hey, I thought it was really great. Well done. I wish we had time to hear the Saraband, but I guess not today.
Okay, you can hear me? Good. Okay, listen, a couple things. The Berlioz, that's opera music. That's from the opera Benvenuto Cellini, a little 5-hour ditty that we play at the Met. So I imagine our Met singers singing that beautiful melody. There's not a single note in that melody that they would not vibrate. So when you have moving notes, moving eighth notes, you have to vibrate them all. Don't stop the vibrato unless there's a reason to do it. Okay, and the Bach, I would, unless there's a real time crunch, I would do the repeats. It's for the benefit of the listeners for them to get that melody in their ears. So unless there's a reason not to, I would always do the repeats. And the last thing is Bach was a real stickler about intonation, and we know that because we know that he was fanatic about tuning his own harpsichords. He didn't let anybody else tune them. He did it himself, and he tuned the harpsichords differently for every key that he was in. So we know he really paid attention to intonation, and I think it would behoove you to pay a little more attention to the intonation. Especially the scale passages in the Bach, they could have been a little better in tune. So really listen carefully for that. Great.
Cameron, I thought it was beautiful playing. I agree with Milan and Craig. I would just add, we are actors. I'd say be looser. Let yourself go. Bigger, like be a little more, I have this beautiful melody and I'm going to be really, really dramatic and really soft. You know what I mean? So just a bigger scale of everything. Beautiful though. Keep up the good work.
Thank you guys so much for today. Now, we technically ran out of time, but we hate to cut off a student. Milan, did you want to go ahead and do the last Bach with Cameron, or are we out of time for today?
Let's do 10 more minutes. We can hear a bit more and then just generally jump into it. Hey, that's beautiful. Wow, that's really great. See, I think what Desiree said had an effect on you, or just perhaps you felt more comfortable because you had already played a couple of things for us, but this felt more intimate, like you were really trying to speak to us. And I really appreciated that a lot. Music is about communication. And ultimately, you're trying to say something to someone. That's kind of the bottom line. It's not playing well, playing poorly, how much to vibrate or not, or what the pieces are and excerpts and auditions and blah, blah, blah. That's all. Music has to communicate something. And when you really feel that someone's talking to you, it's a very powerful thing. And I like what you did there. So you might want to be consistent about the dotted eighth notes,
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Thinking about that recently. I haven't quite decided what it is that I want to do, because I've heard, there's so many ways to play Bach, and it's just like, all this information, and I just haven't sorted it all out yet for how those dotted 8/16 should be played, or how I want.
right. Oh, should. Yes, how you think they should be played. The modern world is, it's a funny era because we have a lot of information today, right? I think in some ways, people that play this in the 1700s, oftentimes they didn't travel very far. They knew less about the world than we do. So I think they felt probably less overwhelmed by the amount of information that we do today. And Bach, this was written 300 years ago. So now everyone has an opinion about it since. And it's intimidating. Whatever you pick, you want to have a strong point of view. And I cannot emphasize this enough. This applies to every performer. Whatever you pick, you want to believe in it so that it comes across that way when you play it. For my taste, this does not have to be totally mathematical, I think that's maybe a little academic, Composers at the time, it's more like this feeling like you play a gamba instrument and you perhaps it's a little shorter than a 16th note would be, but I suggest really sticking with the same thing throughout. And yeah, it's a bit like a sigh. It's a bit like a tremor, like not a tremor, but like a little vibrancy in the heart. I don't know what to call this in English. Try one more time, and let's stick with one way of playing those. And the other thing I would say, when you play, I assume you're not in a big space, but listen to the sound that comes back to you, so that we feel more like you're not in a tiny space, but you're playing in a church, you're playing in a large hall. Maybe just a little bit more relaxed. By the time this dance reached Bach, it was considered a slow dance. I think this is a little too much oomph in there. Slower and let it breathe. Okay, so we don't have a ton of time, so I just want to do one more thing. We can just play a couple of bars at the end. So yeah, do figure out those 16th notes. I know it's not something you can do right now, but they do have to be consistent. What happens kind of is, if I'm not mistaken, when you go up bow, they tend to be longer. And then when you're going in a down bow direction, they tend to be shorter. It was something like this. So I'm afraid there's like a bow thing in there as well, but Tom, pa pam, pa pa. You want it to be the same, no matter what bowing you're playing. In the last 4 bars, let's just do this, or last 5 bars. Enjoy each of these harmonies. I think the saraband gets a little more optimistic until the end. At the end, it's not necessarily so mournful anyway, but at the beginning, this kind of brightness of E flat major and its inherent optimism to my ear kind of comes through. it's like the last 8 or 9 notes literally grow out of that E flat. It's like it's just color, you know. It just peters away into eternity. All right, try the last 5 bars. Show us the harmonies. Don't play too fast. Let it breathe. Listen. Good. Very nice. And I do have to add to what Craig said, intonation, does have to really be spot on because it makes this music resonate in a different way. I mean, yeah, so just really make sure, I use a tuner. Even though I have perfect pitch, I will still, for instance, when I have a passage in E flat major, I'll turn it on, I'll put it on a B flat, and I'll just check that all the intervals I hear are really spot on, beautifully in tune. I think it's a nice thing to do just to cleanse our ears every day. So check some of those passages that are, in the same key. Check them with a tuner just to really make sure that it's nicely in tune. So well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So we have time just for a very brief Q&A at the end. If you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A or chat right now. To get things started, though, I would like to ask our panelists, what materials or what do you use to warm up?
I'm pretty old school about this. I like to play flash scales. I know that this is a somewhat controversial approach in the viola community. I know William Primrose hated flash scales because he said they were for violin, and they are, but they have consistent fingerings, and to me, that's a serious strength. I like to play them, on one string or to 3 octaves, double stops, arpeggios, thirds, chromatic. Shifting exercises also, because that's one of the things that tends to go when I'm like more nervous or less warmed up. My shifts get a little jerky. And lastly, I like to do the infamous 4-minute bow, which is not really 4 minutes, but you basically, there's a lot of videos on this on YouTube. You just play a really slow bow down and then up. And if you can do this for 92 or 120 seconds, you're doing great. And it's a little scratchy, It's the point isn't that it's a beautiful sound, but the point is that you kind of have this meditative down bow and up bow to really set you straight. So that's my personal warm-up routine.
So my personal warm-up is I have something that I wrote out when I was in school, when I was 20-something. And it's a series of long notes that starts with whole notes. And they move by it's hard to explain, but it gradually gets you up into 5th position. And I start because what I want to do is listen to my bow changes. So I don't do a 4-minute bow, but I'm definitely listening. What does the bow sound like on the string? What does it sound like at the bow changes? Is there a crunch here? Is there? And I'm listening to my vibrato. And through all of this, I'm really listening to my intonation. Because I feel like the whole thing with intonation, first of all, don't one of you think that we don't struggle with it all the time. That we are, it's not something that you get. You always have to keep it up. But the other thing is that one of the things that I find is that you need to practice your ear. Your ear needs to practice. You need to make sure that your ear is honest. Because often we just stop really listening. We don't really pay attention. We're not consciously listening. So when I'm doing these slow notes, and those slow notes gradually get faster and faster, I do Schrodiak because I feel like finger strength as well as accuracy is important. And I also do a shifting exercise. And I think, one of the things particularly about the viola which I think you should do, violin technique exercises, is that we get away with having less, or we can get away, or we have gotten away, or we have a reputation of having technique that's maybe not so solid. And I think you do yourself a disservice if you don't practice your technique. So where are those notes? Can I make all those shifts? Is my vibrato beautiful on every note? That kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, I used to think I didn't have to warm up, but now I really need to warm up. My fingers don't move like they used to. I really have to physically get them warm. Uh, so scales hold my attention for about 15, 20 seconds, and then I'm bored to death. So I don't do scales. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but I like to do something that's kind of fun. And there are a lot of great etudes out there that can accomplish the same benefits and that are fun to play. I think of etudes written specifically by violists for violists, like those by Hans Zitt are really fun. One of Desiree's teachers, Lillian Fuchs, has several volumes of caprices and etudes that are marvelous. She was a wonderful violist, and those are great etudes, fun to play. So that's what I use. I find some fun etudes and have fun with it. If you're not having fun, then you're going to lose interest in it very quickly.
Wonderful, thank you. Our second question, and we'll end with this one, is are there any specific stretches you do to warm up or cool down for the three of you?
Yeah, stretches. Not specifically for my hands, for my arms, although I will say that one of the stretches that I do is, I'll put my arm behind my back and then just kind of try to find this space where I'm stretching some of the long muscles in my left arm and also my right arm. I, in general, try to keep in good shape, which I think is extremely important for every string player. We tend to close like this when we play, and I also have a tendency to lift my shoulders. I will say that it's a good thing to kind of know what you tend to do physically when you play, so to kind of like try to counter that action when you're stretching or doing any type of exercising. And another thing that I find helpful, so that I don't have to do as many stretches physically when warming up, is to, in general, pay attention to my left hand and to make sure that there is as little pressure in it as possible. Because I find that in general, all string players, there's a lot of focus on this and less focus on this. And for me, generally, that's been one of the physical things that has helped the most, to find lightness here and to not feel like you have to press the finger down to the fingerboard, because chances are you don't. You can be a fraction of a millimeter above it, if not more than a fraction, and you will perfectly well be able to stop the string. And then I hope that fewer stretches will be needed.
General fitness is important. I think it's really important to, ideally, go for a run, go for a walk, get your whole body warmed up before you start practicing. And like Milan said, be sensitive to your body. Are you stiff here? Are you holding tension in your jaw? Or what are you doing? Pay attention. And I will say that in this age, specifically in this last year, we're all spending a lot of time at the computer. So when you go outside, when you walk around, try not to be like this. Try to think, get your neck longer here, because as musicians, we are deformed from birth. Your neck naturally is supposed to have a curve that goes this way here, and all of us, because of what we do, have it that goes this way. So whatever you can do to think of getting your neck longer and maybe the other curve back here is really important, because over time, you're gonna sink in on yourself. But general fitness, whatever you find fun, get out and move, get your heartbeat going. Like, we are, the only way you stay young is if you move your whole body.
So I couldn't agree more with Desiree. General fitness is the key. Aerobics, keep your body in good shape in general. I'm going to be a contrarian as far as the stretching. I think of a student I was teaching in Brazil some years ago, and a young guy. He was a black belt in karate and a capoeira expert and super fit. He could barely play the viola. He kept saying, I stretch, I stretch, I stretch. And he had such terrible tendonitis. So I said to him, stop the stretching. He kept stretching and forcing it. I think the key is not to stretch, it's to keep things compact. Viola, especially, I play a large viola, and for me, first position is the most difficult because the intervals are so big. So try playing things in second position instead. So I think the key is keeping things compact and comfortable, and don't try to be doing stretches. That's where people get into trouble. Focus on general fitness and don't worry about stretching your hands. Okay, that's it.
Thank you so much for your answers to all of that, and thank you to for everyone for tuning in and participating in this masterclass, especially to Milan Milisavievich, Desiree Elsevier, and Craig Mum for the inspiring coaching today. So thank you again to our panelists for all the time and the excellent coaching, and to our performers for preparing these pieces for us. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and that you stay well, and hope to see you again next time. Thank you, everyone.